Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, joined by Paul McAllister, and we're going to be doing the extra time segment from the Everton-Chelsea game at Goodison Park, which Everton won. Paul, first of all, give me your thoughts on the game.
It was nerve-wracking on the understatement of the year, isn't it? It was a long final half hour. I thought we played really well. I thought we were good for our 3 points, to be honest with you. I know people are saying, "Oh, Chelsea were bad," or Everton got lucky, or "Oh, we were time wasting," blah 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 blah. They're just snobs. Do you know what I mean? They're just angry that that Chelsea, who are a media darling club, didn't get the win, and either that or they're just people who don't like Everton and want Everton to go down and are angry at the fact that we got probably a season-saving win. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of possession, but Chelsea, didn't think created an awful lot. I know we'll come on to the nuts and bolts in a minute. They did make chances, but it wasn't a case of how did it not go in for Chelsea sort of thing. I thought we defended well. I don't think any Everton player did badly or was lucky in any sense. It wasn't like we were just fouling them left, right and centre and we were lucky not to get a man sent off or they were refused a Stonewall penalty or something or anything like that. I thought we just played the game that was in front of us. We got a little bit of luck with our goal, the fact that they doubled on it at the back and allowed us to win possession about 20 yards from goal. But hey, who cares? We deserved it because we never stopped working. And when you show that type of energy and commitment and desire that we showed in that game, then I think you deserve everything that you come out of the game with. And with us, thankfully, it was all 3 points.
Yeah, interesting. We'll get on to obviously the moment in question, but interestingly, I believe the commentators might have said that was the first mistake he'd made defensively, leading to the goal. Which
Thiago Silva, was it?
Yes. Was it him or Aspilicueta?
I think I'm not sure.
Was Silva, wasn't it?
I think Silva was the one who was caught in possession a little bit. Yeah, and I think it was just Aspilicueta who didn't get his foot in at the end. But Chelsea's back line have been really strong all season. I don't remember any massive howlers from any of their defenders or goalkeeper for as long as I can remember. I mean, Kepa used to be terrible for them, but he hasn't been their starting keeper for quite a while now, has he? And as I said, there's no examples that jump off the top of your head of one of their defenders doing something crazy that led to them conceding. So, no, I just think we played really well in the sense that we basically executed our game plan to perfection. We didn't play well in the sense that we had them under the cosh and that Chelsea was struggling. We just played well in the sense that we showed all the commitment and desire you'd want to see from a club that was in desperate need of a win. And Chelsea just couldn't get, despite the fact that the officials helping them out a little bit with the extra time. We'll come to that later on. I think Chelsea can't really come away feeling that hard done by. It was their own fault that they just couldn't penetrate us, really.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to get onto all the stuff in the game because there were plenty of talking points throughout it. It was nerve-wracking, but it was quite an entertaining game with a couple of key bits. We'll start first though with the pre-match stuff, meeting the bus, the flares, all sorts happening. Obviously, you had the flares meeting the bus, the dog being lifted above the crowd, sort of stuff, and then the post. Tell me about all that stuff, meeting the bus, the effect it had, the Goodison crowd. Obviously, Lampard was asked, would you like to see this as a regular thing? And he said, I'd leave that up to the fans. Give me your thoughts on all that. And do you think it would be nice to see it, not a regular thing as in every other league game, but for the next 2 home games we've got while we're in this mess? Do you think you'd like to see it again if that's the reaction it's going to get?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I want to see that type of spirit and that type of emotional involvement from the fans. You'd want to see that every game rather than just what it is a lot of the time, where fans kind of just go into the ground sort of already in a mood and kind of already decided in their head how they're going to react to certain things. I mean, I don't want to sound like a killjoy. Yeah, I'm not in favour of the flares and things like that. That's entirely a personal thing. I just think it's a health hazard. But I'm not a massive fan of that. But again, there's an argument turning around, isn't there, that, look, where do you think you're going? You're going to a football match, you're not going to you're not going to the opera, are you? So as long as no one gets hurt with them, then I guess the flares, you can't really say that you should be outright banning them type thing. They're just not not my cup of tea. But all the stuff with the fans cheering the bus in and things like that. I know we've been critical in the past, saying these players don't deserve half the support they get from the fans type thing. And it's time that these players give something back to the fans rather than just expecting the fans to lift them all the time. But at the moment, it's just must, and anything that we think will help us get an extra point or two, something that can help us turn a loss into a draw or a draw into a win, we have to just do it at the moment because the situation is that dire, isn't it? We just have to get as many points as we can before now and the end of the season. And even if it means doing some things that we don't necessarily see a lot of the time because we think they're cringeworthy or type thing or not sensible in terms of health and safety or things like that, then I guess we can have that conversation after the season finishes, after we stay up, which is all we should be focusing on at the minute. So yeah, I'm all for the mad atmosphere, as long as no one gets hurt and no one kind of goes over the top a little bit.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. Got to be in all the spectacle and the fanfare. Obviously, responsibility has got to reign over that as well. You got to keep your heads, sort of thing. But it was it clearly for once, like you said, there's been an argument that the fact the players don't deserve the fans. The fans have been constant throughout this season supporting, and it has been a pretty tough season. All things considered, I think most of us will agree it's been a tough season. But it was nice to see the players react in the positive way. I thought even the likes of Fabian Delphin, there's that video going around of him looking absolutely not bothered on the bus, but even his performance I thought was pretty decent. It's nice to see that it got the respect and the kick into the players that it sort of was built to do.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of those players won't have experienced anything like that before. I mean, I'm not a Fabian Delph fan, never have been, never will be, but he's played in title-winning teams. He's played in big games before, big pressure games. I'm not surprised that he just kept his head down and didn't really embrace it or give it too much of his headspace. But other players like Iwobi, who played brilliantly well, or players like, I don't know, Mason Holgate was another one. They're not players who will have experienced that type of thing before because they've never played in cup finals or cup semi-finals, probably, at least not for Everton. And they haven't played in big matches that have massive consequences like these games are, because essentially these final fixtures are, every single one of them is a cup final, isn't it? Maybe Richarlison's probably experienced those type of atmospheres when he's gone away with Brazil on international duty. Pickford's obviously gone deep into a World Cup and a Euros, hasn't he, with England? Michaelenko's come from Ukraine and Dynamo Kiev. The fans get pretty fanatical. But a lot of the other players won't have experienced that before. They've only ever been at Everton and they've seen kind of the I don't want to say the darker side, because it's not like fans misbehave in a certain way, but they've only ever seen the supporters when we're upset about something normally, because when they've been at Everton, the club's just not been doing well in general, and fans have every right to be a bit displeased over what's going on and taking out their anger in some sort of way. They haven't seen the club united and the fans just being the absolute best they can be, like we were over the weekend. So players like Holgate and Iwobi and maybe the likes of I'm just trying to think of someone else. Decore is another one. They've never seen what it's like to be an Everton player or experience what it's like to be an Everton player when the fans are really behind them and everyone's kind of just pulling in one direction. And it's good that they've seen that and they've responded to it and they've got a big lift off it. And they'll experience that a lot more often if they just give the fans 110% effort, which not many of those players in the squad can honestly hold their hand up and say that's what they've been doing this season. That's all any Everton fan wants on Everton player. Give it 110%. Show you're committed. Show that you care, and you'll get this sort of treatment that they got over the weekend. That universal backing. This sort of we'll go to the ends of the earth to support you and get one over on the opposition. They'll experience that all the time. That's all we want them to do. So I'm glad that the players responded to it. But we've got to just keep it up now because if we sort of rest on our laurels a little bit now thinking, right, we've got one massive big win. We don't have to sort of show that sort of emotion again for the next home game whenever it comes. If we take on that mentality of, oh, we played our part, let's just leave it to the rest of the players now, I think we're just going to fall right back into trouble.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they've got to keep the kicking on attitude now for the last, I think it's like 5 games we've got left, is it?
Yeah, 5. We played 33. We've got obviously Leicester next game, then Watford after that. 2 away games, then 2 home games, and then the final game away against Arsenal. So every single one of them is a cup final as far as I'm concerned. And every single one of them, apart from maybe the last one against Arsenal on the final day, should be a game that should be games that we're looking at thinking we are more than capable of winning these, and we should be aiming to win them. We should be taking. There's no good reason, no honest to God good reason why we can't win the next 4 games. If we don't win the next 4 games, it won't be because we're not good enough to do it. I think we're better than all of these teams on our day, especially given the circumstances of when we're going to play them. We're going to play Leicester a couple of days after they've been away to Rome, and at that emotional sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to go to Rome and they're going to have a very hard time. But you know that even if they go through, it's going to be so taxing on them mentally and emotionally. Just the travel and going to a big arena like the Stadio Olimpico in Italy and playing a Jose Mourinho team, it's going to take an awful lot out of them. So we should be aiming to beat Leicester when they come back. And we've got a Watford team who look dead and buried, utterly defeated. I know mathematically they're not officially gone yet, but players look like they've already thrown the towel in. Certainly looked like that when he played Burnley in the last game. And even the manager, Hodgson, he's on the touchline wearing his sunglasses. Now, shows you where his head's at. He's already on his holiday mentally. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be beating them either. And then the 2 home games, Brentford and Palace. Brentford and Palace are 2 solid teams, but they're both... Brentford are on 40 points, aren't they? I guess Brentford are not 100% safe yet. There is still a slight chance they could get sucked into it, but Brentford and Palace, they shouldn't be in any danger now, especially not Palace, who I think are around 42, 43. Those teams will already be on their holidays. And coming to Goodison Park against an Everton team that's got a role to play for, especially if we recreate that atmosphere that we've just had against Chelsea and like the atmosphere we had against United, if that's the Goodison Park they're coming to, then we should be really, really turning the screw on those teams because they've got no reason to kind of stand up to the pressure we're going to put them under, because they've just kind of done what they need to do for this season. So, yeah, for those next 4 games, there's no good reason why we can't take 12 points, but we should be absolutely looking to take at least, I think, 9 points out of them. We should be willing to win at least 3 of those games, or if we at least don't lose them. If we win the 2 home games and we draw the 2 away games, then that will probably be enough. That would be 8 points, which would take us to 40. And I think 40 is most likely going to be enough this season. It's what Brentford are on now. Anything over 40, I think you're absolutely guaranteed to be safe. 40 points is very, very, very likely to be safe. 39 points is not sure, probably more likely than not. Still, I could see us finishing on 39 points and being okay, but I think anything under 39, like 37 or 38, then it's just too close to call. We've got to be taking 7, 8 points out of these games minimum.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. I had a conversation with Dad the other before, and we were saying how for however good it is, we've got to get some points away from home. We can't just depend on, inviting people to Goodison Park and hoping to pull it through there. We need to at least, and like you said, Watford, I mean, Leicester, like I agree with what you said. I think they'll be knackered. Jose Mourinho's team are going to be hard to break down. But it's Watford that I look at and think, I think we said it, didn't we, last week when we did the prediction? You've got to be beating Watford, especially with the attitude they look in.
The attitude they've got, rubbish, isn't it? I mean, as I said, Hodgson stood there with his sunglasses on. Shows how motivated he is. He's long since stopped thinking about saving the team. He's already thinking about what drink he's going to order on the beach when he goes on his holidays, and probably what outfits he's going to wear, what shorts and sandals and stuff. And all the Watford players, I think they're probably looking at their manager, realising how unbothered he is, and they probably can't help the fact that they've already thrown in the towel in mentally themselves. Because I said, mathematically they're not gone yet, but there's absolutely no chance in this world that they're going to stay up now. There just isn't, and they know that as a club. and their fans know that, and their players know that, and their manager knows that better than anybody. So we can't be going there and at the very, 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 very least getting a draw. Then oh my God, it's only Everton, isn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. Like they're just. I think Hodgson said he's going to retire as well at the end of the season again. So that
He pulled him out of retirement. He retired after leaving Palace at the end of last season. They just pulled him out of retirement because they offered him probably just a big check, pretty retirement, a pension, and he thought, I don't have to really go in there and do anything. Even if I don't keep them up, it's not like it's going to damage his career. It's not like if he fails to keep Watford up, then he's not going to be able to go on and do what he wants to do afterwards because he doesn't plan on doing anything afterwards, does he? Same with Allardyce when he went into West Brom. He probably knew there was a very good chance he wasn't going to be able to save it, and he'd basically lose whatever little reputation he's built for himself after the team goes down. But at this point, he's more bothered about his pension than he is about his reputation anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree, mate. Getting on to the game, it was a feisty affair. It's fair to say there were a lot of yellow cards from Kevin Friend. A lot of them admittedly, a lot of them were in that sort of 36 to 40-minute period, and then obviously tempers blew over a little bit at half time when the whistle went. Shockingly, I couldn't believe Kai Havertz didn't pick up his first yellow during any of the squabbling at half time. When he was given his yellow, I was actually shocked he wasn't already on one. I thought he was going. I was certain the ref had given one already.
Yerry Mina was the bane of their life, wasn't he? Especially with Havertz. I think Havertz looked like he was on the verge of crying at times, thanks to Yerry Mina, didn't he? Mina just destroyed him mentally, honest to God. And I didn't think Havertz was that big a lad. I think it's the first time I've seen Havertz like in the flesh with my own eyes. And I didn't realise that he was quite a big unit of a player. He's 6'3", 6'4" himself, isn't he? So he doesn't look like a player who's going to be pushed around very easily. But Mina just completely got in his head and wound him up to the extent that he just couldn't. I think by the final few minutes of the game, but the final period of the game, when Chelsea were most desperate and were really pushing forwards, Havertz just couldn't focus his mind because Mina just got on his nerves so badly. It was quality how he did get that booking where Mina lured him into it, hook perfectly, hook, line and sinker, didn't he? Into pushing him over. I think that's what got him the yellow card. But I agree with you. At that point, he was lucky to even stay on the pitch because he should have had a yellow before that. And it got feisty because that's what teams do, like Chelsea, when they're not used to being in a position where they're losing and nothing's coming off for them. Because I think they've got one of the best away records in the league, haven't they?
Yeah.
So they're obviously, they're not used to going away to clubs like Everton and just nothing going their way. It wasn't going their way because the referee was helping us. It was helping them. It was not going their way because we weren't letting it go their way. We had Mina on top form defending them. We had Holgate, who had his best game for Everton in a long time, I thought. We had Richarlison just chasing after everything up top and not giving them a minute's peace. We had Iwobi, who had another solid game, looking much better as a player now. But even in the middle, as you said, even the players who didn't really stand out for being playing well, the likes of Delph and the likes of Decore, they put in solid sort of 7, 8 out of 10 performances. Chelsea are not used to playing against a team where not one person they're able to give a nightmare to, and no one had a nightmare on Everton's side. It was just Chelsea. I don't know whether it's what's going on around the club finally getting to them, because obviously all the hoo-ha that's surrounding the ownership and what's going on there. It seems to be like every day there's a new twist in that saga, doesn't it? Well, there was a late bid last week, wasn't there? Now it looks like they're going to go forwards with that American bidder, the one who owns the LA Dodgers. Now I've been reading today that Roman Abramovich is apparently having second thoughts and wants his loan paid back as part of any sort of deal to sell the club. I just imagine it's absolute chaos at Chelsea behind the scenes, and it's just finally affecting certain players now. And obviously there's that situation with Rudiger as well. Rudiger's finally made up his mind. He's definitely leaving the Chelsea team in the summer. He's a massive personality in that changing room. So it just seems like Chelsea, they lost their heads a little bit. And they lost their heads because Everton played really well. A couple of players weren't getting their own way like the way they used to. And maybe just all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes is finally coming to the surface and affecting certain players and the manager.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And it's interesting. Like you said, I think this is sort of. I know Monday Night Football and people are like me for saying this, but Carragher did actually do something on us. And I think it's the new Frank Lampard's Everton as well. We might be seeing where we look to frustrate the opponent, make it a lot harder. He was on about how much more pragmatical we are. And it shows here, but it's also worth pointing out when we say pragmatical, people seem to think it's a bit of a dirty word, negative football.
Yeah,
We've actually
think yeah. Think of just
was
throwing
gonna say,
everyone behind the ball, don't be, and playing in a low block and oofing the ball up. It's not. It's just knowing what the opposition's weaknesses are and exploiting them, and just as you said, making sure that we're giving the opposition more to think about than they're giving us to think about.
exactly. I think it's very often sometimes misconstrued in the UK with British football fans. And looking at the stats, it goes to prove it. And Monday Night Football did say this as well. Our chance creation hasn't changed for however much more defensively solid we are. And the game proves it as well. I think we had less shots than them. They had like 17, but we had a lot better goal XG, which means our chances were better. And it's worth saying as well, we could have been a couple of goals up. Mikalenko's chance, obviously they could have as well. Pickford pulled out some really good saves, which we'll get onto, but Mikalenko had his chance that I couldn't believe he missed. Mari Gray had his chance, and then Solomon Rondon had ran and done two plays before ultimately slipping on the ball and landing on the back of the ball. But we had people. This wasn't just a smash and grab. We had other chances. It wasn't.
No, exactly. Yeah, the Zamari Gray one, I couldn't believe that didn't go in, honestly. And I think it's a strange thing to say, but I thought Zamari Gray's chance, I thought he hit it too well, if that makes sense. It was he was aiming for the top corner when he should have just smashed it low to the keeper's right, most likely, and it would have probably nestled in the back of the net. Gray did everything right apart from just place the ball when he had his shot. He hit it too well. I think that's an expression that I've heard used, and hopefully people know what I mean with that. Because he caught the ball so perfectly. It had the right spin on it. It had the right amount of power. It had the keeper was well beaten, wasn't it? He just couldn't keep it down. As I said, when you're one-on-one with a keeper like that, you shouldn't be aiming for the top corner. You should just be aiming for the biggest part of the net that you can see that the keepers can't get across to. But it's a shame with that. Michaelenko, yeah, he should have done better with his chance as well. But to be fair to him, I think he was kind of off balance when he struck it. And Rondon did brilliantly right at the end, as you said, beat two players and then somehow ended up getting the easy bit wrong and just Solomon Rondoned it up, didn't he? He tries hard, but he tries hard and he's got his uses, but you can't rely on him to do the easy jobs a lot sometimes because he just looks like a player who doesn't know what he's doing. There's sometimes a method to his madness, and a bit like Oumar Niasse used to be. You just look at him and you think, what is he actually thinking when he's on the ball? Type thing. Has he got any intelligence at all when he plays? But somehow he finds a way to make it work a lot of the time. And I don't want to sound like I'm having a go at him because I thought he came on and did well for the most part, and he's been doing well the last few weeks. But yeah, he should be absolutely kicking himself that he didn't take that chance. And if Chelsea would have equalised, I probably would have been more upset with him than I would have been with Gray or Michaelenko, to be honest with you.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I was watching it with my girlfriend's dad, and he said, "Oh, is he any good?" And I was like, "He works hard. I'll give him that." I said, "But he can be a bit of a lump." And then he went and did that, and I was like, "That pretty much sums it up. Works hard. Did really well to run it down. Had nobody up there with him. Managed to get through, and then the technical side, which I don't think anybody normally associates with him."
Yeah.
It sums him up. And the Oumar Niasse one is a really good comparison, to be fair, because they're very much cut from the same cloth. If you wonder how they get the goals or whatever, and when you watch them, you think, geez. But they work hard, so I guess that's what it proves. As did we. You work hard, you get your results. Speaking about Chelsea's results, though, and their chances, Jordan Pickford, was he your man of the match by any chance?
Yeah, he's got to be. That double save he pulled off, it was at the Park End, and I sit in the Gladders, obviously, so I was from the other side of the stadium. I thought it had gone in. That second chance where he ran across the line and, kind of dived behind his own line to keep it out, I just saw the net ripple, and thought that it had gone in, and that I thought we'd cleared it off the line, but it had gone over the line, and it was going to count as a goal. I couldn't see through the distance away. Obviously, it was 80, 90 yards away, and there was a load of bodies kind of covering my vision. But I thought it had gone in, and that the referee was just going to blow his whistle, and Chelsea were going to run off celebrating. And then when I saw no one celebrating, and I didn't see Chelsea's fans like making any noise, I thought, has it actually not got in? Has it not got in? I was desperate to see the replay. I didn't see the replay until after I got home, and I thought, oh my God, like how has he even managed to do that? It was very sort of. There's some saves that stand the test of time, isn't it? Saves that you'll remember for years and years and years. I mean, I personally remember some of Nigel Martin's great saves. There was one that he made in his first season when we went to Liverpool, to Anfield away, and basically got us a point in that game. I think in his first ever Merseyside derby. I think this was Nigel Martin in the second half of the 03-04 season, where he just made outstanding save after outstanding save, and he made one where he was kind of treading backwards like that, and he managed to tip one over. Managed to jump backwards and just tip one over and stop it going over him over the line. He managed to just get a fingertip to it and push it over the crossbar when the ball was kind of looping over him like that. I remember that one. I remember Jerzy Dudek's made an amazing double save in the Champions League final in 2005 from Shevchenko. That's a save I always specifically remember. I remember seeing, I think it was Buffon in a Champions League game. I can't remember who it was. It was Juventus. I think it was when Juventus played maybe Real Madrid a few years ago. I remember it was a semi-final, and Juventus got through the semi-final. They hung on at the Bernabeu and went through to play Barcelona in the final, which they then lost. It was in 2014-15, I think. I remember Buffon made an amazing double save, I think from Gareth Bale and Cristiano Ronaldo, and that save from Pickford, it will go up there. It will be one of those type of saves that a generation will remember vividly. I was there that day when Jordan Pickford made that save. So especially if we end up staying up now, that will be viewed as one of the absolute key moments that we saved our season. There'll be that. There'll be Iwobi's goal against Newcastle. There'll be probably Richarlison's last-minute equaliser against Leicester. Probably Richarlison's goal in this game. It'll just be the highlights of this of when people look back, like the way everyone remembers Barry Horn's scorcher in 1994. Everyone remembers Gareth Farrelly's goal against Coventry in 97. I think just these sort of legendary moments. I don't want to say legendary because I like to think you'd use that word. That word would apply when you're remembering maybe cup final winning goals, stuff like that. But those type of moments will be what are just burnt into people's memories. They'll remember everything about it. They'll remember where they were, where they were sitting, what was going through their head at the time. I know I will when you think back and someone asks you in 10 years, what was it actually like being in the ground when Jordan Pickford made that incredible save? And you'll be able to describe it to them.
Yeah, it was honestly, mate, it was absolutely amazing. And it wasn't the only one. I think there was one from Kovacic where the angle just looks like he's going to put it to the left of Pickford. And he just manages to squeeze it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one impressed me.
Yeah, late on. Other than that, though, how many saves did Jordan Pickford actually have to make in the game? How many shots on target did he have? Was it 3 or 4?
It wasn't a lot. I saw somebody had the full-on, XG thing the other day, and they were saying Everton, we blocked a lot of their shots.
Yeah.
On target, I think they only had 5. Now, I'll have a look how many Jordan Pickford actually saved to them, because
other than maybe there was a couple in the first half that I don't remember. I think there was a long range effort at one point in the second half. I can't remember who hit it. It might have been Kai Havertz or Mason Mount. I remember he made a save in the second half, but he tipped it over the bar. I remember that double save, obviously, that we just talked about, and that obviously, and then the Kovacic one very late on when he shot from inside the box. He managed to just squeeze it and tried to put it in the corner, but Pickford got down and got his hand to it. But other than those 3 or 4 saves, I don't really remember him being called into action much. I don't remember him having to come out and take a lot of crosses or punching the ball clear or having to make any one-on-one saves type thing when there was no defenders in front of him, sort of thing. So yeah, that goes back to my wider point that I mentioned at the beginning. Yes, we had to all play well, and players had to rise to a bigger moment a few times. But I didn't think Chelsea really absolutely dominated us in the sense where people came away thinking, how did Everton get away with that sort of thing? I thought we were really good value for our win.
I agree, mate. Obviously, Richarlison's goal as well. I thought he took this really well because the way his body was, it looked like he was the one that lost balance. I thought he took his goal quite nicely, all things considered, and he got it from chasing down, which is nice to see.
No, yeah, he took the goal really well, didn't he? And you're thinking, my mind, I don't want to sound negative and a killjoy, but my mind does go back to, how did he miss those chances against Leicester? Do you know what I mean? We've seen he's a good finisher. It's not like we're used to him just needing 4 or 5 chances before he finally scores. Richarlison's are normally deadly when he gets a shot on goal, isn't he? But yeah, he took the goal really well. Kept us cool because a lot of players in that situation would just panic and balloon it over the bar, or would maybe not get the power right and would just roll it into Mendy's hands. But no, it was a really good hit, as you said. It was a harder goal to score than it looked, because in that moment I can imagine a million thoughts went through his head and time slowed down. Definitely did for me, but thank God he kept us cool and he scored that goal. And I didn't see how we were going to score at half time. I thought the effort was there. I thought we were giving it absolutely everything. But the first half, I don't remember us having many chances and Mendy not having to do much at all. So I was saying at half time, I'll be surprised. I think if we're going to get a goal here, it's only going to be through a set piece. I just don't see how we're going to get through their back line. But Richarlison's given it everything, but he's having the same problem he had against Leicester. If we hit it long to him, he's just not being able to do anything with it. He's not a target man. And players like a Wolby and Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray are trying to get close to him and back him up, but a lot of the time they're just not managing to combine. They're not managing to link together and put through three or four slick passes in the final third to open up Chelsea's back line, cut them through them like a hot knife through butter. We just weren't managing it. So I was sceptical about how we were going to score at all, but we did do it. Fair enough. And it wasn't like, as I said, it was a mistake from the defender, but it was a mistake that we forced. It wasn't like the defenders just had an absolute howler. It was a mistake that we forced through our pressing game, which was just sheer will and sheer determination. So good on them.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Obviously, leading on to that, we'll get to the 7. Before I ask you, your overall thoughts on the game and finish. The 7 minutes got to be spoken about. Like you said before, that we'd get onto it. Where I know Pickford could be accused of time wasting, but 7 minutes seemed very excessive amount to be sticking up on the board.
Richarlison went down for a couple of minutes, didn't he? And we had a couple of incidents where the ball went into the crowd and fans wouldn't give the ball back. Now, I will say this again, I don't want to sound too miserable, but I absolutely hate that. When you're trying to run the clock down, the worst thing to do is when you get the ball, when it goes out of play and you're a fan and you're sitting there, don't hide the ball. Just give it to them. I'm not saying just be a ball boy and throw it right back to them, but just make sure that you give it back to them. That whoever the opposition team is, make sure they get it back within 10 to 15 seconds. Because if it takes any longer than that, the referee's going to add a minute on. He just is. So we brought a bit of it on ourselves, a couple of fans, just not thinking of the bigger picture. Did me head in. I know there was that funny thing of going on with the fan putting the ball under his shirt and stuff, and people laugh about it on Twitter afterwards. But if we'd have conceded a goal in extra time, then no one would be laughing. And that fan who did that, and he wasn't the only one. It happened a few times down my end of the Gladys Street as well. Anybody who was not giving the ball back, they would have been absolutely to blame for that. I think if Chelsea had got a late equaliser, but yeah, 7 minutes was too long. I think 5 would have been a fair shout because we had a couple of stoppages for injuries and Chelsea players misbehaving and getting themselves booked, like when Havertz pushed Mina over. That caused a bit of a scrum, didn't it? So it was a case for there being a lot of extra time, but not 7 minutes. That just goes back again to referee just wanting to help out the bigger team, which we know absolutely happens. We know it's not just in fans' heads. We know for a fact that referees and whoever they are in Stockley Park, the FA, they do not want their medium darling clubs to lose. They just don't, and they'll do everything in their power to stop them from losing.
Yeah, I agree. I think when the ball was coming up, I think I said to myself, I was like 4 or 5, possibly. Before we finish, though, give me your overall thoughts on the game and your standout players.
The overall thought on the game was I didn't see us winning the game at all going into it. at half time, I was encouraged by what I was seeing. I thought, yeah, we can definitely hold on here and get a good draw out of this. Maybe if we get lucky, we'll pinch a goal. But I didn't honestly see how we were going to get a goal from open play, but we managed to do it, and we managed to keep them at bay with some absolutely brilliant defending. We'd had Mina available for even 20 games this season. We'd be nowhere near where we are. I've always said Mina is a quality player. The only problem with him is he's not available often enough. He's not. If he was fit 35 games a season, then we'd have absolutely no problems at the back. I think. But you know, it's not the case, is it? But we were good value for the win. I think we deserved the win. I think it was just. I wouldn't say it was just not a fair result because Chelsea, I think, did deserve something. But at the same time, you can't. When you say Chelsea deserved something out of the game, you can't turn around and say Everton didn't deserve 3 points either. Do you know what I mean? We did deserve 3 points the same way they deserved not to lose the game with the chances they created. But we played really well. Massive, massive moment. It's probably the biggest win of the season. I think it's probably the biggest win of Lampard's reign so far, which is a big thing to say considering the last-minute madness against Newcastle, the win against Manchester United. But Chelsea are probably the best team who've come to Goodison under Lampard so far, other than Man City. Other than Man City, Chelsea are the best team Lampard's played at Goodison so far, and he got his tactics absolutely spot on, and team did everything that we needed to do. Every player kind of rose to the moment and didn't let us down, and I'm just so glad we won that game because it means we don't have to necessarily go away and win both our away games now. If we win both our home games and win just one of our aways, we'll probably be okay. Whereas if we didn't win that game against Chelsea, we're looking at still being at least 10 points. Whereas I think now we might just get away with getting 8 or 9.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I completely agree. I think it was a great result as well. That is all we've got time for today, though. Don't forget, guys, to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below your thoughts on the game. It was certainly a brilliant game to watch. Paul, thank you for coming on and speaking to me, mate. It's been a pleasure as always.
No problem, mate. And as I said, it's always fun, isn't it, when we come on and we've got something nice to talk about rather than just slating players and slating managers and slating other people at the club left, right, centre. It just bored of doing that now, honestly. So even when they deserve to be slating, it's just like, oh, I don't want to just go on and say the same thing over and over and over again. People get the point. It's nice when we can actually come on and be a bit positive, isn't it?
Absolutely, mate. And you know, it's a lot. We happily stay on a lot longer as well when we're winning.
Yeah,
it's absolutely
exactly.
brilliant.
Hopefully we can stay on a bit longer when we get some more wins over the next couple of weeks. Because to get 3 wins, I think we're absolutely all right. Honestly, well, it's just whether we get them or not. We've got to win those 2 home games against Brentford and Palace, and if we don't win at least one away game, we can't be losing any away game. Or at least not losing to Leicester and Watford. I know there's a lot more twists and turns to come, but we're on 32 points. If we get 8 points, we get to that magical 40. And I can't remember the last time a team got to 40 points and was relegated. I'm sure it's happened once or twice, but it's absolutely surely not going to happen this year. So we get to 40 points, we'll be okay. And it's more than doable. It's in our hands. So this is not like against Coventry in '97, where basically we just have to hope that other results go our way and other teams do us a favour. Obviously, we need those teams we need Leeds and Newcastle and Burnley not to get good results. We do need teams to help us, but as long as we do our bit, then we'll be all right.
Completely agree. That's everything we've got time for, guys. See you soon.